U.S. Navy Ghost Fleet ships make first-of-its-kind visit in Japan. Fed signals higher for longer rates with hikes almost finished. India asks Ottawa to downsize missions after stopping new visas for Canadians. Poland states country is no longer arming Ukraine. European prices jump after Russia temporarily bans diesel exports. Vietnam's VinFast to deliver EVs to Europe this year. Saudi Crown Prince says getting closer to Israel normalization. California is engaged in the world's largest dam removal project.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Friday, September 22nd, and here are your top stories. Ranger and Mariner, two U.S. Navy drone ships or unmanned surface vessels, arrived at fleet activities Yokosuka in Japan on Monday. The Navy's 7th Fleet said in a statement on Thursday it's the first ever visit to a key ally in the Western Pacific as the Pentagon takes a hard look at drones as tools to counter China's military mass. The two ships, like several others, are part of a project called Ghost Fleet Overlord, which began in 2018 and is a way to integrate large unmanned surface vessels into the Navy.
Ranger and Mariner are part of Unmanned Surface Vessel Division 1, a unit that manages drone boat integration and experimentation. The scheduled port visit is part of an ongoing event that focuses on testing, developing, and evaluating the capabilities of drone boats. Before arriving in Japan earlier this week, they participated last month in joint exercises with the Navy and U.S. Marine Corps, where the drone boats were integrated with Carrier Strike Group 1 organized around the aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell made clear Wednesday that the central bank is close to finishing raising interest rates. However, his colleagues stated that borrowing costs must remain higher for longer amid renewed strength in the economy. Following the central bank's decision to leave rates unchanged, Fed officials said they still expect to raise rates once more this year. The projections also show they expect inflation to fall below 3% next year and return to their 2% target by 2026.
According to their median estimate, Fed officials now expect their benchmark rate to be at 5.1% by the end of next year, up from 4.6% in the last projection round in June. Investors remain skeptical that the Fed will raise rates through an array of potential economic headwinds, including rising gas prices, a United Auto Workers strike, and a potential government shutdown. Despite these factors, the chief economist at Wrightson ICAP LLC Lou Crandall said, the risk of another rate hike is pretty low.
India on Thursday suspended new visas for Canadians and asked Ottawa to reduce its diplomatic presence in the country, sharply escalating a spat triggered by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's accusations linking New Delhi to a Sikh separatist murder. The Indian Foreign Ministry said Canada has not shared any specific information in connection with the allegations Trudeau made, and that New Delhi was willing to look at it if provided. A blanket suspension of new visas by India for a Western country is unheard of.
The announcement came hours after Canada's High Commission in India said it would temporarily adjust staff presence in the country after some diplomats received threats on social media platforms. Canada is the fourth largest source of foreign tourists with 350,000 visitors in 2019. The unprecedented tensions flared up on Monday after Trudeau said Ottawa was investigating credible allegations about the potential involvement of Indian government agents in the June murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in British Columbia.
Poland summoned Kyiv's envoy to the Foreign Ministry on Wednesday after comments by Ukraine's president on a ban on grain imports angered the government in Warsaw. Poland's prime minister said on Wednesday Poland is no longer arming Ukraine as it is focusing on building up its own stocks of weapons. Mateusz Morawiecki told Polsat News, "We are no longer transferring any weapons to Ukraine because we are now arming ourselves with the most modern weapons."
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky told the United Nations General Assembly Kyiv was working to preserve land routes for grain exports, but added that the political theater around grain imports was only helping Moscow. Poland's foreign ministry said it also told Ambassador Wasyl Zawarich that putting pressure on Poland in multilateral forums or sending complaints to international tribunals are not appropriate methods of resolving disputes between our countries.
Russia temporarily banned exports of diesel in a bid to stabilize domestic supplies, driving European prices higher in already tight global fuel markets. According to Russian government decree, the ban, which also applies to gasoline, comes into force on September 21st and doesn't have a final date. Diesel prices in Europe jump on concern the measure will aggravate global shortages. According to Vortex data compiled by Bloomberg, Russia was the world's single biggest seaborne exporter of diesel-type fuel this year.
According to fair value data compiled by Bloomberg, the premium of benchmark diesel futures to crude oil in Northwest Europe climbed sharply, temporarily topping $37 a barrel. Diesel futures for delivery in October also grew more expensive relative to barrels for arrival the following month. The bullish structure surpassed $35 per ton, before paring some of those gains. Under the decree, fuel cargoes already accepted for shipment by Russian railways or those with loading papers for seaborne transportation can still be exported.
Vietnamese electric vehicles maker VinFast plans to ship its first EVs to Europe this year after receiving regulatory approval, as the European Union considers imposing tariffs on its Chinese rivals. On Thursday, the company's chief executive, Letty Q3, told Reuters, "We expect to deliver the first VF8 models to French, German, and Dutch customers in the fourth quarter of this year." Adding the company's other models, VF6, VF7, and VF9 will be launched in the European market next year.
A person familiar with the plan told Reuters about 3,000 of its VF8 crossovers would be delivered to the three countries and some for Israel under the plan. The Nasdaq-listed company's plan to expand into Europe would represent a four-fold increase from a previous unmet target of delivering 700 cars by last July. If fulfilled, Europe would become VinFast's biggest overseas market this year. The company had shipped about 2,100 EVs earlier this year to the United States.
Saudi Arabia Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said in a U.S. television interview that his country was moving steadily closer to normalizing relations with Israel, and also warned that if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, we have to get one. When asked to characterize talks aimed at longtime foes, Israel and Saudi Arabia, reaching a landmark agreement to open diplomatic relations, the Crown Prince told Fox News in wide-ranging remarks broadcast on Wednesday, "Every day we get closer."
When asked what it would take to get a normalization agreement, MBS, Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler, said, "We got to see where we go. We hope that we will reach a place that will ease the life of the Palestinians and get Israel as a player in the Middle East." MBS also voiced concern about the possibility that Iran could obtain a nuclear weapon. MBS said, "If they get one, we have to get one, for security reasons and the balance of power in the Middle East. But we don't want to see that."
Under the world's largest dam removal and river restoration project this time next year, a series of massive dams that block up the Klamath River will no longer exist. The soil and rocks originally dug and transported from a nearby mountain in the 1950s will be returned to their home and the river will run freely again. One of the dams, Copco 2, was removed earlier this year in a few months. It was a relatively quick undertaking, considering the construction of the Iron Gate Dam took nearly a decade.
In the age of extreme heat, record-setting drought and catastrophic flooding linked to climate change, there's been a national push to rewild, a movement rooted in restoring nature to the state it was before human intervention, hoping this helps mitigate the effects of climate change. The California Regional Director Ann Willis for American Rivers, a nonprofit focused on protecting clean water, said, "One of the fastest ways to heal a river is to remove a dam. To unjam a river, the river can start to restore itself."
The answer for yesterday was C, adversary. His rivals knew that they could expect no quarter from such a ruthless adversary. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of Vietnam's VinFast to deliver EVs to Europe this year. Number 1, tariff, 关税. The punitive tariff was imposed to discourage tire imports from China. Number 2, expand, 扩展, 发展业务. We've expanded the business by opening 2 more stores. Number 3, unmet. 需要未满足的. Do you think there is an unmet need for books about software management? Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I'll see you next time.